Welcome back to Tech Money Digest, your briefing on what's happening across technology, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, careers, digital work, and the future of earning. I'm Ashley Hughes Jefferson, and today we have several important developments to talk about. AI companies are facing growing price competition. AI-augmented skills are showing up in technology roles. A serious Mac vulnerability is being actively exploited. Cybercriminals are changing how they target Google Workspace accounts. A cloud storage dispute involving approximately 50 terabytes of data is providing a major lesson in vendor risk and data sovereignty. And rising healthcare costs could have an impact on worker compensation. So let's get into today's Tech Money Digest. AI price competition is heating up. First, let's talk about artificial intelligence. One of today's major AI stories involves growing competition in the AI model market. According to reporting highlighted in today's digest, OpenAI and Anthropic are facing increasing pricing pressure as lower-cost Chinese AI competitors gain ground. And there's a larger story here than simply which AI company has the least expensive model. The cost of intelligence is becoming part of the competitive landscape. For businesses, consultants, developers, freelancers, and entrepreneurs, falling model prices could potentially reduce the cost of building AI-powered products and incorporating AI into everyday workflows. Think about what happens when the underlying technology becomes cheaper. A small business may be able to automate processes that previously required expensive software. An independent consultant may be able to build AI-enabled services without the infrastructure budget of a large company. Developers may have more choices when deciding which models make financial sense for a particular application. But price should never be the only consideration. Organizations still need to evaluate security, privacy, reliability, governance, performance, and whether a particular model is actually appropriate for the business problem they're trying to solve. The AI race isn't just about who has the most powerful model anymore. Cost, accessibility, and business value are becoming increasingly important parts of the conversation. AI-Augmented Engineering is showing up in jobs. There was another interesting AI-related signal in today's digest coming directly from the job market. A senior Ruby on Rails developer opportunity highlighted AI-augmented engineering and the use of tools such as GitHub Copilot. The particular opportunity included time zone restrictions that made it unsuitable for many US-based workers, but the job itself illustrates something worth paying attention to. Employers aren't necessarily separating AI jobs from regular technology jobs. AI capabilities are increasingly being incorporated into existing professions. A developer may still be a developer. A business analyst may still be a business analyst. A cybersecurity professional may still be a cybersecurity professional. A project manager may still be a project manager. But the tools used to perform those jobs are changing. That means one of the questions professionals should be asking is not simply, will AI replace my job? A better question may be, how is AI changing the way my profession is performed, and what skills will I need to work effectively in that environment? AI adoption is also a leadership issue that brings us to leadership. Research featured in today's digest found that empathetic leadership can significantly influence whether employees perceive AI as an opportunity or a risk. And this is an important part of the AI conversation that sometimes gets overlooked. You can purchase AI software, you can deploy an AI platform, you can automate a workflow, but technology adoption is also a people issue. If employees don't understand why a technology is being introduced, how it affects their responsibilities, or what the organization expects from them, uncertainty can quickly become resistance. Strong AI leadership, therefore, isn't just about implementation. It also requires communication, training, transparency, governance, and helping people understand where they fit within the transformation. Cyber alert. Mac users need to pay attention. Now we need to move into cybersecurity because today's digest contains an alert Mac users should pay particular attention to. A high-severity macOS screen sharing vulnerability identified as CVE 2026-65400 is reportedly being actively exploited. Attackers have been using the vulnerability to gain elevated access and deploy cryptocurrency miners. If you're using a Mac for remote work, consulting, freelancing, business operations, or everyday personal use, this is not something to ignore. Check for the appropriate macOS security updates for your device. Review your firewall settings. Organizations should also review whether screen sharing or port 5900 is unnecessarily exposed to the internet. This story is another reminder of something I talk about frequently. Updates are not just about getting new features. Sometimes they're closing security vulnerabilities attackers are already attempting to exploit. If a vulnerability is actively being exploited, delaying an available security update can increase your exposure. Google Workspace. Security is more than passwords. Our next cybersecurity story involves Google Workspace. Security researchers are drawing attention to attack chains involving stolen OAuth tokens. This matters because cybersecurity isn't limited to someone stealing your password. OAuth tokens can allow applications to access services such as Gmail and Google Drive without requiring you to repeatedly enter your credentials. If attackers obtain valid tokens, traditional password-focused defenses may not be enough by themselves. For businesses and independent professionals using cloud productivity platforms, this reinforces the importance of reviewing connected applications, limiting unnecessary permissions, monitoring account activity, using strong authentication controls, and removing integrations you no longer use. Your digital workspace has become part of your cybersecurity perimeter. The 50 terabyte cloud storage warning, and that leads directly into another major story from today's digest. A PBS affiliate reportedly fears losing access to approximately 50 terabytes of irreplaceable data after its cloud storage provider went defunct, and issues arose over access to the information. The situation has escalated into a legal dispute. Regardless of how that individual case is ultimately resolved, there is an important business lesson here. Cloud storage does not eliminate business risk. It changes where some of that risk lives. If your company depends heavily on one provider, you should understand what happens if that provider shuts down, experiences financial trouble, loses access to infrastructure, changes its terms, or simply stops responding. Ask yourself, where are our backups? Who actually controls access to our information? Can we move the data somewhere else? What happens if our vendor disappears tomorrow? How long would it take us to restore operations? This is why vendor management, business continuity, backup strategies, data sovereignty, and data portability matter. Don't wait for a crisis to discover that your backup strategy was actually just another dependency. Cybersecurity and government contracting. There is also an important development involving cybersecurity and government contracting. The U.S. government reportedly plans to recruit private security firms for authorized cyber operations targeting overseas criminal organizations attacking U.S. persons and entities. The details of how private firms will participate and how those activities will be governed are still developing. But the broader trend is worth watching. Cybersecurity is increasingly connected to national security, critical infrastructure, financial crime, government contracting, and international operations. For experienced cybersecurity professionals and firms, that could influence where specialized opportunities develop in the years ahead. PayWatch, healthcare costs and compensation. Now let's move to PayWatch. Today's digest highlights another issue workers should watch: healthcare costs. Employers are reporting that rising healthcare expenses are forcing compensation trade-offs. In practical terms, when benefit costs increase significantly, organizations may have less flexibility elsewhere in their compensation budgets. That could affect salary growth, raises, hiring budgets, or other benefits. For workers, this is another reason to evaluate compensation as a complete package rather than looking only at base salary. Look at healthcare, retirement benefits, paid leave, bonuses, remote work flexibility, professional development, and the actual costs associated with accepting the position. For freelancers and independent contractors, the calculation can be even more important because benefits that an employee receives through an employer may need to be purchased independently. Your hourly rate or project fee isn't automatically equivalent to an employee's salary. You have to understand the total economics of how you earn. Today's opportunities. Before we get into today's show notes and key takeaways, let's talk briefly about opportunities. Today's Tech Money Digest includes resources for professionals searching for remote technology roles, development opportunities, AI evaluation work, data annotation, contract projects, freelance work, and other forms of digital employment. Resources highlighted in today's digest include opportunities and job resources from We Work Remotely, Remote.co, FlexJobs, TechCrunch, Mercor, Aligner, Scale AI, RWS, Upwork, Fiverr, and Freelancer.com. But remember, an opportunity being listed online does not automatically mean it's right for you. Review the requirements, verify the company, understand the compensation structure, check geographic and time zone restrictions, read the contract, and never assume that the word remote means you can work from anywhere. Remote jobs can still have state, country, time zone, licensing, tax, or employment restrictions. Show notes. Key takeaways. Before we close today's Tech Money Digest, I want to go through the key takeaways from today's show notes because these are the actions I want you to think about after hearing today's stories. Key takeaway number 1, level up your AI game. Now, with AI model prices dropping and AI-Augmented Engineering becoming a job skill, it's clear integrating AI tools like GitHub Copilot into your development workflow isn't just a nice to have. It's becoming increasingly important for efficiency and staying competitive. And even if you're not a developer, the larger message applies to you. Look at your profession and ask yourself, how is AI being integrated into the work I already do? You don't have to learn every AI platform or jump on every new tool that appears, but you should be experimenting with the tools that are relevant to your field and understanding how they can improve your workflow. Don't wait until AI proficiency becomes an expectation in your role before you start learning. Start experimenting. Start practicing. Start building your AI literacy. And start mastering the tools that make sense for your career and the work you want to do next. Key takeaway number 2, prioritize your macOS security immediately. There's an actively exploited macOS screen sharing vulnerability that could potentially give attackers elevated access to affected systems, leading to cryptocurrency miners, performance problems, and potentially greater security risks. If you're using a Mac, don't put this on your I'll get to it later list. Check for the latest security updates available for your supported version of macOS. Review your firewall. Check whether screen sharing is enabled if you don't need it. And make sure port 5900 isn't unnecessarily exposed to the internet. This is especially important if your Mac is part of your professional life. Maybe you're working remotely, maybe you're running your business from it, maybe you're communicating with clients, maybe you're accessing financial accounts, cloud platforms, intellectual property, or confidential documents. Your computer isn't just a device anymore. For many of us, it's our digital workspace, protected accordingly. Key takeaway number 3, reevaluate your cloud reliance and data sovereignty. That story about the PBS station fearing the loss of access to approximately 50 terabytes of data after problems involving its cloud provider should be a wake-up call. Whether we're talking about your personal portfolio, business documents, intellectual property, photographs, client information, project files, or other important digital assets, you need to understand where your information actually lives. Ask yourself, who controls my data? What happens if my cloud provider goes out of business? Can I retrieve my information and move it somewhere else? Do I have another independent backup? How quickly could I recover if I suddenly lost access? Understand the terms of the services you're using. Have a backup plan. And for critical information, consider whether relying on one storage provider creates unnecessary risk. Cloud storage can be convenient, but convenience should not eliminate your ability to control, recover, and move your own information. Don't let your digital assets become hostage to a service that no longer exists or that you can no longer access. Key takeaway. Number 4, beware of sophisticated Google Workspace attacks. It's no longer just about phishing emails and stolen passwords. Today's digest highlighted the growing security risk associated with stolen OAuth tokens and the access they can potentially provide to environments such as Gmail and Google Drive. That means you need to think beyond password security. Strengthen your Google Workspace security with robust multi-factor authentication. Regularly perform security checks. Review which applications and services have access to your Google account. Remove permissions you no longer need. Pay attention to unusual security alerts. And be careful about granting third-party applications access to Gmail, Google Drive, and other sensitive information. If you're using Google Workspace professionally, think about what's actually inside that environment. Your professional communications, client information, contracts, documents, business records, financial information, intellectual property. Those accounts can contain the infrastructure of your professional life. Your professional communication and client data are prime targets, so protecting your Google Workspace environment needs to be part of your overall cybersecurity strategy. Today's show notes, what I want you to remember. So if you remember nothing else from today's Tech Money Digest, remember these 4 things. Level up your AI skills and learn how AI fits into your profession. Prioritize your Mac security and keep your systems protected. Reevaluate how much you depend on individual cloud providers and make sure you maintain control of your data. And protect your Google Workspace environment beyond simply having a strong password. These are practical steps you can begin thinking about today. Today's bottom line, AI is getting cheaper and becoming more integrated into everyday professional work. Cyber threats are increasingly targeting the systems, identities, permissions, and cloud environments digital workers depend on. And businesses and professionals need to think seriously about who controls their data and how quickly they could recover it. These aren't separate conversations. AI adoption, cybersecurity, cloud infrastructure, career development, compensation, digital work, they're increasingly interconnected. And that's why staying informed matters. You don't need to chase every technology headline. You need to understand which developments could affect your career, your business, your security, and your money. For the complete show notes, key takeaways, stories, and source links from today's episode, visit Tech Money Digest, https and techmoneydigest.lovable. App, episode, AI, price, wars, max cyber, threats, future of work. You can use the show notes as a reference after watching or listening to this episode and follow the original sources to learn more about the individual stories we discussed. If you found today's briefing helpful, subscribe to Tech Money Diaries, turn on your notifications, and share this episode with someone who works in technology, uses AI, works remotely, freelances, runs a business, or simply wants to stay prepared for what's coming next. I'm Ashley Hughes Jefferson. And remember, real tech, real money, real life. I'll see you in the next Tech Money Digest. Disclaimer: Tech Money Digest is provided for educational and informational purposes. News stories are curated from publicly available third-party sources and remain the property of their respective publishers. Commentary and summaries are provided for educational discussion. Cybersecurity information should not be considered individualized security advice. Verify security updates, vulnerabilities, remediation guidance, job opportunities, and other information with the original publisher, vendor, employer, or appropriate professional source. Job and contract opportunities may change, close, or include geographic eligibility or other restrictions. AI disclosure AI tools may be used to assist with research organization, scripting, editing, production, or illustrative visuals. Final content is reviewed and presented for educational purposes.